All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Friday. This is Neurolinguistic Astrology Live. I am your host for this Friday's forecast when it comes to the cosmos. April O'Neil actually did not prep ahead of time, so I need to just double check the stars. Oh my goodness. Oh, the way I have this set up. Let me just try to do this way and hope that I can see. So I'll wait as you guys enter the live room. So welcome. I'm just going to put, last time I messed up when I did this to both YouTube and TikTok because I forgot about YouTube and that was kind of annoying. So welcome. I'm April O'Neil for Channel 6 News. We're going to be doing the cosmic news brief as it comes to the stars. So I'm going to let you guys know we've got an eclipse coming up. Actually, that's the main thing I can talk to you guys live about. Then we'll get into the actual planets of everything. I'll just tell you what I know off the top of my head to start. So I hope you guys have been well. I've been so lost in time lately. I meant to go live, oh my gosh, 2 days ago. So I'm so sorry to all of you if you were waiting. I was trying to write my book and get it ready for publishing by today, but I'm not going to make that deadline because I went through an edit last night and I was like, there's so much here that needs to be fleshed out. So I went back to the drawing board when it came to my own scheduling of things. So today's show is Neurolinguistic Astrology Live. So I am a cosplayer. I'm playing April O'Neil right now. April O'Neil from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is like one of my original crushes, like my cartoon crushes. And so I decided to put her on today to talk about the stars, the cosmos, the eclipses that are happening right now. Because when it comes to April, not only does April deal with the fact of like spring, and I was born in the month of April, so I already feel a little bit Hi, Pokey. Happy Friday. Welcome to the weekend. So I didn't make my deadline, unfortunately, when it comes to my book. It's almost ready. But I did play Dungeons and Dragons last night with a whole new group of people in the Forgotten Realms universe. Hi, Stephen. How are you? I'm bald again. What's your natural were you a redhead? Did you say that you were a redhead, like besides being bald as well? So fun fact, I've been working on doing SFX makeup. So I was working with like liquid latex and to put on the like elf ears and stuff. And so this is related to I'm blonde. Okay, I love blondes. I always wanted to be a blonde. So let's talk a little bit about uh, April O'Neil, and I'm going to relate that to what's happening right now in the cosmos. And I'm going to tell you a fable, a story off the top of my head about Turtle Island. Turtle Island is, let's call it this way. The story of Turtle Island is a Native American tale, a fable that talks about how North America is this turtle, this island. I'm going to, every culture, every area in the globe as part of our earth family have these very sacred stories. Like mythology really just means sacred stories. So your own personal mythology, I think the best way. I love redheads. I have a thing for redheads, you guys. So I wanted to actually talk a little bit about color theory in addition to I guess that's the main topic of today's conversation. Color theory, as well as talking about chakras. And I want you guys to, I need some help because I want to call the chakra temples. Actually, do I have, God damn it, I don't have my map here. I made a map for my my own personal like homebrew campaign for my book, but I'll show that off on a different live, or maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow, me and Crypto, Supergirl and Crypto, are going to be reading the last dog of Krypton, and we're going to talk a little bit about I don't like calling them pets. They're more like companions, like companion health, like both are all of them. So let's see here. Turtle Island. Oh yeah. ATLA. What do you mean by ATLA? Which acronym? And so oh my gosh, throwing me the acronyms, Pokey. I did an essay once in university about acronyms and how like that has a different meaning when you're taking that into your mind. Anyways, but my favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Okay, so you guys drop in the chat, and if you're watching this in the replay, uh, please comment on who your favorite Ninja Turtle is. And if you don't know, I'm going to go over them right now. You've got Leonardo, who's blue, and he's the leader, and he uses 2 katanas. And then you've got Raphael, who's red. He's kind of like, the bad boy, and he uses size, right? I think that's how you say it. They look like forks. I never like playing Raphael in the arcade because, like when you're playing like the side swipers, you're like hitting, right? The sides are very short, right? So you don't have as much range when you're trying to hit enemies. That was just my opinion on it. But I do love Raphael as a character. Then you have Michelangelo, who is yellow, and is he yellow? No, he's orange. My gosh, sorry. Orange. And he's got the nunchucks. And then you have Donatello, who is purple, and he's got the staff. I don't know if there's a name for it specifically, but it's all to say that in Japan, it's when you think about all the different types of martial arts, remember it's martial arts, it's the art of combat. And so this is why any of the times where you have the universes of the Ninja Turtles, and let's say Batman, for some reason, like Gotham and New York City in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles universe tend to have collaborations. And it's cool too, right? Because Batman is well trained in the art of combat. And so are all of the Ninja Turtles. They have a sensei who is Master Splinter. And so when I was growing up in the 90s as well, like I feel like everyone was doing like Taekwondo. Martial arts was like super cool, right? Jean-Claude Van Damme, all that kind of stuff. Let's see here. Avatar, The Last Airbender. Okay, so they do a version of Turtle. Do they do it as Turtle Island as being the entire world? Because some people have that as a myth as well. Michelangelo is your favorite Dorito duster. Mine too. And I didn't even answer who my favorite is. So growing up, as a teen, and when I was like first watching the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like on Saturday morning cartoons, my favorite is Leonardo. I always had a soft spot for like the leader. Like that's why I love Captain America. It's why I love the Red Ranger. My girlfriend loved Tommy. When I went to cafe today, I had to explain to the girl, because I guess she's like, I'm not familiar with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise. So I'm like, I'm April O'Neil. She's like, I thought you were maybe the Yellow Ranger. I'm like, okay, I'll take that. So my favorite Ninja Turtle is Michelangelo, now that I'm all grown up. So let's see here. No, it's not the entire world. Brains on the operation. Oh yeah, yes. Does Machines was in black and white. They were all bad boys. There's different, I think I have something in terms of like the history. It's the last Turtle Island, which was hidden from the world. Okay, so let me tell you guys my version of Turtle Island, the Turtle Island mythology, and I'll tell you how I know it. And remember, you guys, just like comic books, just like any, let's call it fairy tale or mythology, there are multiple versions. And any retelling that you do, especially in oral tradition, you make it your own when you're then sharing that story. So this is my telling of Turtle Island. It is in my book. I have a scene in the story because I grew up in the prairies. And near the prairies, there's this area called the White Shell. And I have some stuff on my YouTube if you want to see it, where they have petroforms, or these like rock formations that are in the shape of like snakes and turtles. And they're meant to mark things like the lunar calendar. They're meant to mark time. They're like a throwback or a call to all that kind of an ancient civilization. let's say. So this is the story of Turtle Island, and then we'll go into the cosmos today. Okay, so Turtle Island, the way it kind of goes is that way back in the beginning, in the time before time, there were sky people, right? And sky people, you can say star people. You can even say they were maybe a version of us, right? And we lived amongst the gods, or rather the gods were here. So in this world, we have a grand world tree, which holds the universe together, let's say. And I forget what happens exactly, but something happens to the tree and there's like a hole, right? And one of the sky people's daughters, one of the king's daughters, peers through the hole and is very curious. And she accidentally falls through the hole, and she falls onto a turtle's back down where like Earth is, right? The tree, I think, connects realms in this case, right? So like think about it as like if you have like an underworld, which isn't necessarily always hell, you guys. It's just like there's a scene in Peter Pan, the one with Hugh Jackman. My hubby was sending this to me as I was trying to build my world map, where like to get to Neverland, you like go to the sky, but then you pass through like a water barrier, and then you're like in the sky again, and then you're in the water again. I don't know, like this, it's like how the barriers all work. We can only conceive of time in a very linear way. So when we're talking about like time travel, phase traveling, or all that kind of stuff, it's that's why it's nice to use comic books and other fantastical tales to talk about it, right? So in a more allegorical kind of fashion. So where was I going with this? The sky woman, she falls through the hole, right, from the heavens and onto the turtle's back. So she's like, oh gosh, well, at least I'm not, she's surrounded by water, right? Just water everywhere. And she's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? It's funny. I'm trying to think now because there's like a bunch of animals at this point, but like where are the animals living if there's no land? Anyways, I'm trying to think back on like how the tale goes. You know what? I have it written down. Let me read it properly. Because I actually told this to my husband the other night, like a bedtime story. So I'll tell it to you guys properly. Let me see here, because it's part of my research, like as well as looking at like the Red River and your own let's call them natural ley lines of things. The story of Turtle Island. Okay, let's do it this way. Hopefully I can see this. Okay. Let me talk about this proper now. Hi, Pikachu. Welcome to the live. I'm going to tell you guys the story of Turtle Island, and I'm going to read it instead of going off the top of my head because I was getting some facts wrong. Needed some rehearsal time. Thank you for that. Happy Friday. Welcome to the weekend. I am April O'Neil, Channel 6 News. We're going over the cosmic news flash with April O'Neil. I wanted to come on right at 6 p.m. Eastern, but I missed that because I was making noodles, and I got lost in time. My sister always tells me that. She's like, oh yeah. What was I telling her the other day? I'm like, Nursa, I finally feel like I'm like a true artist. Like, because I spend a lot of time in the corporate world, and I've only now finally been like, I'm going to like fund my movie on Indiegogo. I've got my books ready to be published. I'm getting all like my cosplay stuff ready. I'm working on my photography. So I'm like, yeah, I'm being an artist. But I've realized I also still have to have the this tattoo. This is my Sailor Moon tattoo. Moon crystal power. That's a great reminder, actually, for me to talk to you guys about D&D, my game last night. I was going to invite some of you guys onto that game where we actually now have a full table. We play tabletop, but over Discord. My DM lives actually in the Ukraine, so he's amazing. Hey, Kat. Awesome DM. He puts a lot of effort into the game maps, and so I've learned a lot from him. I'm going to actually put a flash goal on TikTok. Hope you guys are doing well this Friday. Just to remind you of my cosplay, I'm April O'Neil. I do actually also have a read on my YouTube channel. How should I put it? I do have a read on my YouTube channel of The Last Ronin. I do realize I didn't really read a conclusion to that, and it's a very dark tale. And anyways, I went off on a tangent. I'm going to talk to you guys about Turtle Island because, of course, April O'Neil loves turtles. And turtles, from a symbolic standpoint, since we're talking about neurolinguistic astrology, is we're talking about when we say the planets, and I talk about your moon sign and your sun sign, you're going to talk about things about that are like, oh, thanks, Rolly. Thank you. People didn't know who I was today. I had to inform people about, like, my April O'Neil. And April O'Neil is a big reason why I moved to Toronto in the first place, because she was all about, reporter, finding the truth, the story of reality, right? Oh yes, April O'Neil in September. Yes, we're in fall season, right? Virgo season. I feel like it's been a minute, TCJP. I feel like I've been lost in time space for a little while, but I've come out to inform you guys all as well of what's going on cosmically. So let me get this out of the way before I talk about the story of Turtle Island. On Sunday, we have, hold on, yes. Sunday on my calendar, as you can see here, I got puppies on it, right? The puppy calendar. On Sunday is Grandparents' Day. And my granny's turning 100 very soon. I'm going to do a little interview with her soon. But also on Sunday, it's a full moon, but not just any full moon. It is a lunar eclipse. So what does that mean? Oh, yeah. Oh, thanks, PCJP. Shout out to Lola. Oh, yeah. So I love that. Well, she's actually my grandmother on my dad's side. So my dad is South African, right? So my granny is actually very Dutch. So I like to call myself a panda, like a black, white, and Asian, right? Yeah. Blazing. And I think consider myself a child of the earth. So bringing this around to Turtle Island, I was born in the prairies. I was born in Winnipeg, despite having my lineage, my genetics from two very hot and tropical and, warm locations. When it comes to astrology and the elements as well, you can think of it as people have elemental tendencies, right? So I was talking to my hubby about how, like, maybe we're in like the Great White North because we're very Mars. Me and my hubby have, when you run charts together, you can run the chart as a, because this is with friends. You can run two charts against each other. It's called a synastry, and you can see almost like a circuit where things connect. So me and my husband, Mr. Caduceus, he and I have Mars as our planet of rulership, meaning that Mars is like a hot, steamy, force driven, drive driven, do it now planet. Rules Aries, is the ancient ruler of Scorpio. And so, but in all of us, we have all of these tendencies, right? It's just a matter of the lens in which you, as that personal avatar, as that personal entity that is carrying that character, gets to live it out. The panda in the prairies. Oh my gosh, PCJP. Yes. How cute of a little animation would that be? A little panda in the prairies. Like, clearly, like, you would never see a panda in the prairies, right? And like, where are you gonna get the bamboo? I love bamboo. So versatile. Oh, Rolly, North Dakota. You know what? I had me and my husband actually had a near-death experience in North Dakota driving because Winnipeg and North Dakota, like, we used to go down there for like cheap shopping. You wouldn't have to, well, now with our dollar, you couldn't do it. I don't think it's as cheap. It's the Ghibli studio movie in waiting. Oh my gosh, love it. Do you have a favorite Ghibli studio film, TCJP? Are you guys familiar with the Ghibli films? I have a Princess Mononoke cosplay on deck. I'm still working on painting the mask. I love Princess Mononoke. Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away, love both those films. And I think both of them actually contain a lot of cosmic information. I do think that animes, anything illustrated, including comic books, which I read you guys, encode within them a lot of extra information that, words, the written word, of course, is a technology and it is a beautiful thing. But when you accompany that also with just artwork itself, you have something that is truly quite magical. And Alan Moore, author of Watchmen, and your creator, PCJP, has been quoted as saying that the comic book medium is sublime, but the comic book industry is fucked. And you can say that about a lot of industries, right? Like the beauty industry, when I used to compete in fitness and bodybuilding, right? This whole concept of becoming unhealthy in order to compete in a fitness competition, or like making weight, the dehydration, all the stuff we put our bodies through, which is not necessarily optimal, right? And when we think about, actually, let me bring this back to the story of Turtle Island, because when it comes to the stars and the cosmos and the eclipse that's coming up, so what we have actually coming up on Sunday is a lunar eclipse. Now, lunar eclipses can only happen on full moons, and solar eclipses, when the sun is hidden, okay, they can only happen on new moons. So it's kind of interesting that it is all tied to the lunar cycle. And the lunar cycle is really in all of us on a personal level about our subconscious. It's about our dream state. It's about like that inner child archetype. So think of it this way. When you dream, and let's say you're not astral traveling and you're just working things out in your own consciousness, let's say you're dreaming about, like, I don't know, you having a conversation with a friend of yours and your mom shows up or something like that. For you to have that dream, are creating already in your own consciousness, creating the world that is. And this friend that you're having a conversation with, whether or not you've met them yet or not, you are creating what you envision for them in your head and imprinting it. Like, you as the creator of the reality of your dream world do that all the time, every night time you go to sleep. Sometimes our dream world will interact in that other world, right? And I think that's why we end up with things like deja vu, or like a glitch in the matrix, or like feeling like, oh, I've done this before. I have felt this before. I have felt familiarity in some places that I've never been before. I've felt familiarity with people that I've never met before, meeting them in real life. And it feels like we've had many lifetimes before this one. And in this time, this is when we meet for the first time, at least in this form. So it's been interesting for me writing my own book, because in my book, it's based on real people. And so it's given me an opportunity to put myself in another's shoes and speak from that voice. I've made my husband, like, it's just so interesting, right? Like, a lot of the women, like the heroines that I look up to, like April O'Neil, Batgirl, Supergirl, they were all created by men, right? It was a man's imagination that created those characters, right? It's like this archetype of, like, every man has an inner feminine that they're imprinting. And that's what the moon is attributing to in all of us, right? We all have our personal attraction to what the opposite sex is, right? We also have like our personal likes and dislikes when it comes to friends, right? You do not have to like everyone you meet. I think that that's a really big misnomer in our society as a whole, right? And that's why we don't tell really funny jokes, because we're so concerned with, like, what it feels like to not be liked, or to have like the hate train come at you, or like have trolls, or like just like, frick, I don't want to deal with that. So I'm just going to not do anything. Paul, I collide with you as stars in the universe. We were okay with it. Oh, we are all stars, my friend. That's right. Yeah, no one wants, exactly, the cancel culture thing. I hate calling things what, like, the general media likes to attribute to them. I welcome all of you guys to come up with your own inner glossary of terms that, of course, are based more on like for example, when I was in psychology, I took child psychology as like, let me bring this back, bring it back. In psychology, you have different verticals of theory. I guess I should put it that way. Because when people think of psychology, they think of Sigmund Freud, right? And it's interesting because Freud actually is still known as like pseudoscience and is not necessarily studied as a way to deal with mental health in psychology generally. Anyways, I'm going to go to Turtle Island. I went on a whole tangent and I want to talk about not quite the scientific stuff, right? Because when we talk about the mythical and the mystical side of things, we're talking about magic here, right? Science has a really hard time with dealing with miracles, right? I'll give you an example with my dog, Wolfie. Hey, Gwen Stacy. Hey, Voice of One. Welcome to Friday. This is Neurolinguistic Astrology Live. I'm April O'Neil, one of my original girl crushes from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm April. Well, I had to explain this. Like, one of the girls was just like, "Are you the Yellow Ranger?" I'm like, you know what? I'll take that too, because I played Yellow Ranger as well. And I love the symbology of yellow. Yellow is the solar plexus, right? The sunshine, your will, your inner soul power and flame, right? So yeah, I also think of like Belle and Beauty and the Beast and that beautiful yellow dress. So there's that too. So today's topic, we're going to talk about Turtle Island because I'm April, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I figure in like superhero school, that's enough of like a connection, right? I'm going to write this down just because I'll make like a topic for these lives and then I'll watch it later and be like, that I didn't talk about any of that. And then I'm going to talk about D&D because last night we restarted a game in Forgotten Realms from the beginning, but I did it with a character that already went, like, let's say up to level 6, but now I'm starting at level 1. And so I'm like, wow, what a great metaphor for the way reality works if you're a time traveler, or if like you remember past lives, or like you have a whole life that you live in your dreams, that like you spend half of your life sleeping, right? So where do you go when you dream? Or when I had my near-death experience in the Philippines, I fell on my head, on the back of my head, when I was about 3 years old. I was like knocked out, and I've only recently been like remembering dreams of that and like cross-referencing with my sister, being like, did that actually happen? Or was that a dream? And she's like, okay, that really happened, and then this is a dream. But parsing through all that, you have to ask yourself, what's the difference between a dream and a memory? Because oftentimes you can watch the same movie, or you can watch the same event, or be in a similar place and same party, and people will have different memories as to what happened at that time, right? So, but all of them are true. It's all just different perspectives as to what happened. Like some of them, well, that didn't happen that way. Like to me, it happened like this. And we can only go by whatever information we have. I think we can have a little bit more forgiveness for others when it comes to things, especially when it comes to like favorites. Like, it's so funny, right? Like we'll have our favorite characters, and then get annoyed when other people like other characters, but then also get possessive about the characters that we love and be like, well, you don't love it in the way that I love it, so I love it more. Right? Guys, oh, come on, you're all pretty. I think every girl is pretty. I think that women have available to us so many magical tools to help us feel pretty. Like, um, yeah, I'm the kind of girl, if I see you looking cute, I will tell you, because it costs nothing to give a compliment, right? Especially if it's the truth. So thank you. And you are that pretty, trust me. Okay, so Turtle Island we're going to talk about, and then we're going to talk about the eclipse. Oh, lunar eclipse on Sunday. So we're going to talk about Turtle Island. Oh my gosh, just reminded to flip this. So actually, voice of one. No, I don't want to. Oh, wrong way. This way. All right. So, voice of one. I know that you're familiar with the Turtle Island myth. Are you familiar with it as being the whole world or as being North America? Because I have a story I'm going to read you guys that's just a version. You can take it or leave it, or you can add to it. But I think it's a nice one to tell. Okay, so the story of Turtle Island. A long time ago, even before ancient times, there was a sky world where sky people lived. A tall tree of light provided light to the sky world. But one day, a young, pregnant sky woman convinced her husband to dig around the tree of light's roots to find something to satisfy her cravings. The tree of light toppled over and left a giant hole in its place. The sky woman looked into the hole and saw a world covered in water below. So, in an attempt to get a better look, the sky woman got close, slipped, and fell in. An eagle caught her and brought her to a turtle to place it in on its back. So an eagle grabbed her and placed the sky woman on. So it could be the whole world. This actually maps to that too. So we have a sky woman. So we think about like divine, the Pleiades too, for example, which is a star cluster, has a lot of stories attributed to it, where there's the 7 stars of the Pleiades, but only 6 are visible. The 7th star is said to have fallen in love with a mortal and come down to Earth. And that's where like our parentage comes from, right? We are, you know, divine heritage, that kind of thing. In North America. Okay, got you, voice of one. I think that could be a truth too, right? To like the whole world and North America being a commonality thing, because when we think about definition of world versus Earth, especially once I've been world building, right? So a difference between dimensions, realities, worlds, realms, and Earth. Like there is a differentiation. They're not necessarily, there's huge similarities, but not necessarily all the same. So let's see here. Uh, so tree of light toppled over, sky woman fell through, eagle grabbed her and took her to the back of a turtle. So in the let's see here. So however, although the sky woman now was safe, not in the water, she needed land to live on. So the animals of the water world saw her plight. So it's the marine world, right? So if we think about even Atlantis and things of like this underwater civilization as well, like so the Little Mermaid, another fellow redhead as well, right? So the animals of the waters below saw her plight and they decided to help. So they held a council, as animals do, to decide how they would bring up Earth from the depths of the water so that the sky woman would have a land to live on. So let's see here. So many animals tried to dive in and to the bottom, because you need to actually have, good lungs to go down to the bottom and grab some mud. So many animals tried to dive to the bottom to retrieve mud, but the water was too deep and the task was too difficult. The beaver, the otter, and the loon all attempted to dive but returned empty-handed. So finally, the small and humble muskrat volunteered. Despite the size, he was determined to succeed where the others had failed. The muskrat dove deep into the water, disappearing for a long time. When he finally resurfaced, he was exhausted and barely alive, but he had succeeded in bringing up a small amount of mud. The sky woman took the mud and spread it on the turtle's back. As she did so, let's see, the mud began to grow and expand because she's got magical powers, of course. With the help of her powers and the animals' efforts, the land continued to grow, forming hills and valleys and forests. The land became what we now know as North America, or the entire world in some legends. Um, Often referred to as Turtle Island, the Sky Woman gave birth to twins. This is a common theme, like giving birth to sacred twins, who grew up to shape the land further, creating rivers, mountains, and all the living creatures that inhabit it. The turtle, with its slow and steady nature, symbolizes perseverance and ingenuity, qualities highly valued in us, right? This idea of just persevering and coming up with a solution that is creative, right? Thinking outside of the box. The story of Turtle Island is not just a creation story, but it's also about the deep connection and respect that we have with nature herself. Oh, really? Voice of Wine. So that just goes to show there's like the multiple tales that may all be true, but the beats remain the same, right? So April, April O'Neil, the name April actually means to open, like when a flower first blooms, this idea of dawning. And dawning, morning, breaking through the darkness, light. And I remember someone was saying, it's like, well, we all need light, right? Like, yes, even darkness needs light. So you have no shadow without the light. So it's kind of like this interesting thing of how our reality functions through things that are not necessarily logical, right? Let's say. Okay, I'm gonna put that away. So that was Turtle Island. I wanted to talk about that as a mythology as to one creator myth that would exist alongside other creator myths and not have them negate each other, instead have them empower each other, right? Um, let's see here. And let's see here. Voice of One has more intel. He heard it as the first man as opposed to woman. I wonder, was there any other differentiations between those two tales, my friend? And after the flood, it was one, Pangea or Pangaya, maybe I'll call it. Continue. I feel like the one Pangea continent is definitely a thing. The tectonic plates and the movement of everything kind of makes sense. I'm a man. I'm an amazing man. We lost telepathy. Yes, yes. It's almost the story of Orpheus and Eurydice is also a way of them explaining why we can no longer talk to the trees and nature because we have forgotten how to listen. Because they're not going to talk in like English. It's just about being able to speak in other ways, as you said, like telepathy, and what does telepathy look like, right? So I'm going to tell you guys a story about me and my sister, because she lives out in Vancouver and she loves hiking a lot, right? And she's an Aries, and bringing this to astrology, like Aries being ruled by Mars. And if you have any Aries placements in your chart, today's Friday, right? And Friday, Freya Friday, Venus Friday, you all have a twin. Oh, so here, the first man, but also had twins. Yes, twin sons. I bet you that first man probably married a goddess or something like that. She is an amazing woman. She's my little sister, so I'm a little biased. But we're very close. And me and my sister actually do have, I would call it telepathy. But I feel like just like with any other trait, right? Just like going to the gym and lifting weights. You don't start off lifting like 100-pound dumbbells. You start with like tens, and then you move up incrementally. And the same would go with mental muscles, and the same would go with psychic muscles. I would gather, right? You would have to have the time and space in order to practice things like even like magic tricks. You need to practice, rehearse. And so I would imagine the same thing goes for incredible psychic abilities, right? And Volcom, hey, how's it going? Welcome. Happy Friday. I was just telling the myth of Turtle Island because I'm playing as April O'Neil, Channel 6 News, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, psychic. Yes. So psychic is hard to explain, right? Because I was actually working on making a psychic shield, like a proper one for my Jean Grey cosplay with Eva foam. And it's been fun to connect with other cosplayers who resonate with certain characters. Altruistic. Altru uh, what do you mean by that? Well, I mean, altruistic is just, I guess, from a perspective of doing things for the good of others, right? You're doing things from a purely selfless place, right? I've had to learn how to do that from a loving perspective, right? So let's bring this back because we could talk about a couple of things today on this show, but I wanted to keep things to what's coming this weekend astrologically because oh, thank you. Thanks for dropping in, True. Appreciate it. And I hope you have a great weekend. So I'm still working on my book. Hopefully by this weekend, by Monday, I can have it published and you can get it. And in that story, there is a map where each of the dragons correspond to an energy center, which is like a ley line on this island of Etheria, which is a floating island, which exists as a game portal to the god realms, right? Like Mount Olympus. And all mythology, right? All stories. When I bring this back to D&D, is that what I wanted to talk about? Yeah, the lunar eclipse on Sunday. And as I told you guys, your moon, everyone has a moon placement. My moon is in Gemini. And so when I found that out, I was like, oh, that explains a lot of stuff because I'm a Taurus, right? And being a Taurus, you think of like steadfastness and like you know, plod along the same, right? Your moon sign is more about like your inner world, how your mental state is, your inner child, your inner mother, your subconscious, the side of you that most people don't get to see. Hey, thanks, Conjura. So my moon being in Gemini, A, I have a lot of Gemini friends I've noticed. And B, I resonate with like, okay, so if you have a moon in Gemini, this is something you will do. You will, let's say, fall in love with something like carrot muffins. Actually, I could go for carrot cake right now. I love carrot cake with like the cream cheese icing, so good. But let's say if you have a moon in Gemini and or any kind of moon placement in more mutable placements, so like Sagittarius is mutable and so is Virgo. You will find like, let's say you fall in love with something, you have a favorite food, or like I fall in love with carrot cake muffins. I will like be obsessed with it for like a week and like eat it all the time, bake it, be obsessed with the smell of it. And then out of nowhere, out of the blue, I will just hate it, not want it anymore, don't want to have anything to do with it anymore. And I will have no rhyme or reason as to why that changes other than the fact that like I just changed my mind. So a big thing with Gemini and even your moon placement is like your mental processes are very much like, so let's say you're a Pisces, voice of one, I know you're a Pisces, your moon sign is also in Pisces. So that also then means you have like new moon energy. And so there's this level of like, oh, your emotional world and your like my sun sign, the presentation of like my main soul mission and character, the one that's front stage, there's much more synergy between those two, right? Sometimes you'll have it where this outer personality, and I have a girlfriend of mine who she's an Aries, but she's very scorpionic. So her moon is in Scorpio and she's a rising Scorpio, but she's an Aries. So she ends up being almost like gothy, right? Because Scorpio can have a bit more of a goth sense to it because because Scorpio season is Halloween season. It's like the shadowy side of life. It is the this idea of the scorpion sting and being a water sign, but also like this concept of having Mars as your ancient ruler. So this connection between two very disparate elements and just power, right? Power is power in that kind of sense. Also, let's bring this back to what's happening in the stars right now. So let me actually just pull that up. So I meant to prep that ahead of time, but I did not. I apologize. And yes, Pisces power activate. I think the biggest superpower for Pisces, I think if you have a moon in Pisces, you're going to be more predisposed to psychic abilities. Now, I think my theory is oftentimes people will fall into drug abuse or alcohol abuse because of latent psychic abilities that have, like, we do not have a good understanding in our mainstream understanding of education and how our body works when it comes to, like, oh, what if you're naturally predisposed as being psychic? Maybe you have clairvoyant abilities, because it's understood that these things exist. However, we always see it as like someone else has it, right? Not that, oh, I may have I've used this example with you guys before where if you have an ability, let's say to phase, or you're like a traveler or time traveler, you could walk through walls and you spend like your time thinking that your psychic ability is to like make something float, right? You could spend your like, well, I'm not good at anything. I can't do that. But maybe that's not your ability. And I think that's where astrology, when it comes to your own natal chart and your birth chart, gives you some sense and some direction, because it can, like for me, having a Gemini moon, I get so excited about cool things. And like, I used to be such a sucker for marketing campaigns, you guys, like a fun jingle or like bright flashing lights. I'm like, oh my gosh, like a light, I'll have it. And like my hubby would be like, did you just buy that because of the packaging? I'm like, yes. Oh gosh. Yeah, I could have just taken a picture of it. So I can appreciate, how should I put this? I can appreciate like when you like when you're drawn to certain things, right? And you can't really explain why, but there is a psychology behind certain things, right? Um, link. Oh, if you want to book a reading with me as well, I think I have my link in the thing. Oh, other thing that's also happening live is on September 20th. I am launching the crowdfunding for my second book, which is actually going to have a musical movie component, which is going to be the spiritual successor to Escape from LA and Escape from New York from John Carpenter. I am trying to get permission from John Carpenter to use Snake Plissken's character, because I'm going to have Snake Plissken be a character in this movie as something to kind of tie the reality of movie magic world to the way this reality functions, right? So in this world where there's like a cosmic blockbuster where all of our lives are like a VHS tape, and there's like a blockbuster dragon and dragons accept stories as offerings or tribute, right? So my older brother from a different universe has to go to this cosmic blockbuster to retrieve a VHS tape that contains a very specific story in it. Anyways, the movie's called Escape from District 6. You know what? I could read you guys an excerpt from it. I won't right now, but I will in a future time, because I've figured out some key plot points with that. And so there's a game map for that as well, which is going to be the city of Toronto with like a D&D map overlaid on top. And so how you would escape from District 6 is not through breaching the invisible wall. It would be through opening a portal, right? And how would you do that? Well, you have to figure that out. You each have to activate your own special crystal power, and then you make it. It's taken me a little while to figure out all the mechanics behind that, and I have to thank D&D for providing that when it comes to like just the D20s and the attributes and how these things have kind of been figured out, and all of those mechanics are all open source. And the fact that Forgotten Realms, I think, what is his name? Tim Greenwood, he's like from Toronto too. So strange connections between Toronto and cosmic game fun. So let's talk about the astro for today, and then I'm going to wrap it up. And tomorrow, Supergirl will be live with crypto for as long as crypto will stay still. And then we will do a little bit talking about supplements. And I need to find another word for supplements. I like to call it like nature's apothecary. So all of the magical tools that already exist in nature to help us activate our psychic abilities, right? So let's say you take lion's mane mushrooms, which are known as like a brain booster mushroom, if you're trying to learn something, right? So it's like a way of like knowing how certain components, molecules work, and connecting that too with very practical practices, right? Because you just don't get anywhere without practice. I know that from like relearning how to draw. Like you can be the most talented, whatever, doesn't matter. You still need to practice, right? Like Santana, the guitarist, or like Jim Moore, any of like the greats, Freddie Mercury. Can you imagine he just like stopped singing? You know, even to the end, he's still sang because you are like, what have you done for me lately? You are as good only as your last game, your last showing. So I've been in the state of being like, not a failure to launch, but just being like, oh my gosh, if I never do it, then I never fail, right? Because then it can just exist in my mind forever in a very idealized state, but then you'll never, to quote Pocahontas, how high does a sycamore grow? If you cut it down, then you'll never know. And yeah, just that kind of thing. So, oh my gosh, I got full tingles. I'm planning on relearning also how to sing. Me and my friends used to harmonize and sing 4-part harmony together. So when I watched K-pop Demon Hunters, I like had a little moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had a dream about that. I had a dream of like fighting bad guys, but you're also like musical stars, because music, I have you can see here, I have a moon and I have a treble clef, right? Because of how important music is to me. I mean, I guess I'm a Taurus, and I feel like music is important to a few signs, especially. And in D&D, it's like the bard, right? And so bringing this, oh my gosh, I put myself on a time limit because I need to eat dinner too. And my hubby's always just like, you got to make sure that you like take breaks. So like, yeah, maybe if it didn't take me so long to actually just get live in the first place, maybe, you know? Okay, so the sun is in Virgo, right? So Virgo is very much like back to school vibes, because it's like September vibes. I actually should be doing a chart reading of Batgirl and Supergirl because they actually have birthdays one day apart, where oh yeah, because Supergirl is like born on the last day of Virgo, and then Batgirl is a Scorpio, which kind of I think is fitting. Or Libra. Holy moly, oh my gosh, worst astrologer ever, you guys. I just go think of intuition. Okay, so the moon right now is in Aquarius. So moon in Aquarius for us all as a collective human family means that we, Aquarius is an interesting sign, right? Very social, but also like aloof, like that eagle eye view, analyzing the whole board, right? So any air sign, I would say, if you're an Aquarius, if you're a Libra, if you're a Gemini, it's almost like this very mental, right? So this concept of like thought experiments and being able to see into the future. I think also if we think about superpowers, those signs are probably more likely to have more like mental powers, right? Now, I had a conversation with my girlfriend even about like the X-Men and how they express psychic powers is a great way to model like how unique each individual person would be when it comes to expressing any kind of power, right? Because Jean Grey, right? Her powers come from empathy, right? And more feeling through things, which is why the Phoenix likes her a lot. And Emma Frost, she's also psychic, but her power comes from more of like mental capacity, right? So as opposed to feeling through things, and like feeling for danger, like whatever, like the spidey sense, like I feel like spidey sense is a psychic ability, right? If you think about it, like the ability to feel danger or have like a radar around you, or rather, we already have those things. It's just the ability to be lucid in it, right? To be aware of it, to harness it, um, to dance with it, right? And so stay tuned for some exercises that you can do to enhance your own psychic abilities, just based on my own my own let's call it experimentation, because when I go dance, I don't know the songs that my hubby is going to play, right? And so there's a beautiful, satisfying moment when I can anticipate when the drop is going to come, or when I know there's going to be a change, like in tempo, or where I can like do something different, because I can anticipate it. And that's like seeing in the future, isn't it? Right? Because I know the way songs work. It's just like how if you know the way stories work, you can foreshadow, right, what's going to happen next. And if you are a really great storyteller, which is what Star Wars did, you'll actually, it's what I've been doing with Dragon Wars, actually finish the third book and the second book before I'm actually done the very, very beginning. Because that's the way time actually works. We are dreaming our ancestors. They're depending on us in order to exist. So yeah, I think I'll leave it with that. So happy eclipse season. I do have my schedule pretty much updated, thank goodness, going forward, because we are in Virgo season, back to school season. Summer's over, right? Not over, but to me, it's an endless summer in my world. But I welcome you guys to the eclipse. Is like this idea of the moon being blocked, right? So the moon is actually going to be blocked by the earth. And I look at it as also like, the two aspects of femininity, um, pushing and pulling within us, right? Because the moon and earth are both like feminine aspects, right? And sun is usually masculine. Even if you want to flip that, it can go for women. Like it's like the different aspects of who we are. Hey, Dandy Man, birthday twin. This would very much apply to you a lot because, we're born the same day. So us Taurus. So Taurus is actually a feminine sign, right? So a masculine Taurus, it doesn't mean you're feminine, right? It just means that certain things like stability, but do you consider stability feminine per se? Not always, right? Because when you think about building a house and building, that to me seems kind of masculine, right? So even though Taurus is a feminine sign, there are aspects of it you can kind of parse out. Like Cancer is a feminine sign, so if you're a male Cancer, same thing goes with like Aries. Aries is a masculine sign, so being an Aries woman, or like in my case, my Venus is located in Aries. That brings with it, like, I guess, tomboys, right? Or men who like have great hair, right? We were like listening to classic rock and stuff. Like just because you are a pretty boy doesn't mean that you're like feminized, right? Like, and I think our society doesn't know how to deal with like the cornucopia way that things weave together when it comes to that and the unique character that is you, right? So, oh yeah, Libra. Libra is the other Venus sign, right? So Libra is known as like the masculine expression of Venus. I have, it's funny too, my friend Dee 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 Star, she's a burlesque dancer in Palm Springs. She's going to be on my live very soon. We're doing some DC bombshell stuff coming up. I'm so excited. But she's a Libra. And we talked about how like she gets the whole like Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. I love Libras. They're so neat and tidy and balanced. But you know what? That's my husband's also a Libra, right? And so being a Taurus, like we're both the Venus signs. So we relate to a lot in a lot of ways, but Libras can also be like indecisive, right? Because you're trying to make the scales of justice. You're trying to make the absolute correct choice. And in many cases, that's really hard to do. Comic books, especially like the Bat family, you deal with a lot of like shades of gray, right? Um, I always look at like comic book names too as having like different symbolic meaning, right? So you think about like Jean Grey, the Gray Aliens, um, Dick Grayson, right? Shades of gray, right? This idea of like things are not just black and white. There's always a gradient. And so even being a sign, hey Squishy the Sia, how's it going? I will also soon have a book published. I actually also have a studio here in Toronto. I know you're in Toronto too, Squishy. So it's possible we can maybe even have you at our event and your book as well. Like we can maybe work something out because I am in Kensington Market, and we're doing a live in-person video. We're also gonna have like a live like TikTok live on the 20th, but you'll be able to come in like real life in the studio. I think we can have 50 people total, and I'm gonna have it set up so it like is like an immersive art music video shoot. So you'll have to sign a disclaimer because I'm actually also using it as a way to film my movie and create the trailer so that I can get funding, right? So look at that whole big thing. So because I don't care about actors, I don't care about big Hollywood. I care about you guys. I care about my friends, and I'm interested in showcasing that because hey, it's all movie magic, baby. It's we can do it now. It's all so much more accessible now. So let's make magic happen together. Let's make the stories that we always wanted to bring to life together. And I want to help you. I know this from like the plant medicine, all of my psychedelic journeys. It always tells me the same thing that like Rachel, no one's going to have the dreams the way you do and see want to just have this just I want to save the world, but not by keeping up the old structures that still exist. We do need to get rid of it, but it doesn't mean like throwing out the baby with the bathwater, right? Like I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? There's a whole reason why I am who I am, and it's a lot of because people created stories that were just like stupid, like I was high and I just came up with this idea and now it's a thing. And that thing now means so much to people and got people out of like really hard times or like so I want to encourage you, all of you artists out there, and you are all artists. Your life is a work of freaking art, right? The entire cosmos is watching you, us right now, and is hoping that we all do the right thing, whatever that is. So I wish you guys all good fortune. Yeah. Right. So remember, like April O'Neil, like the turtles, like even in the last comic book I read you guys, when Batgirl and April actually teamed up together to help their friends. It's funny. Like April was like, "Are you an alien?" And Batgirl's like, "I'm not the one who's running around with little green men." So it's just I love like, but the interactions between characters, those if we think about that with astrology and the different aspects of you, you can also think of that as like different parts of yourself having counsels with each other when you're dealing with really hard decisions, right? Like whether or not to take the new job, whether or not to leave the job, whether or not to like take this new opportunity, whether or not to move, whether or not to like take a chance on this person that like seems really cool. And do I commit to them for the rest of my life, right? Have the courage to do it. Have the courage to do what it is you do and just do it full stop, right? And even if it all burns and goes to hell, it's an amazing story. And who doesn't love a redemption arc or like an underdog story or one where, like, it all seems like it's lost, but then a hero, Gandalf, comes down movie, right? So hold on, guys, no matter where you are in your story. Okay, guys, I hope you have a beautiful one. We will hopefully be doing a DJ dance set a little bit later. But until then, remember, it takes true courage for you to be exactly you in the cosmic game of life. So remember to be and play as exactly you, full stop, because the universe is counting on you. But no worries, my friends. I got your back. All right, bye.